Hey you guys, this is Josh
and Carolyn
with Homesteading Family, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pantry Chat Food for Thought.
We're not in the pantry, we're actually out in the forest garden this week. We're sitting under the pear tree at the moment. I don't know if you can see this little pear right here on the branch in front of me.
This is a really exciting project. I was talking last week about pruning trees right now, and this pear tree when we got here was chemically dependent. Yeah. It was an addict on chemical
It was
inputs.
An addict. That's a good way to put it.
And we pulled those right away, and the blight kind of got out of control.
Yeah.
And you can see this pear still got a little bit of it.
See, this little one is kind of covered in stuff like a rust on here.
Yeah. And I decided that I was going to treat it naturally and either solve it or the tree would have to go over time. Mm-hmm. So we've had an approach of both pruning hard, pruning it back real hard, which I did last year, and then building soil in the mycelium community, which trees really need and love, and through mulching and connecting all these trees through a mulch layer and inoculating with some mycelium. And it really seems to be working. This tree, this is, I mean, this is our third summer, but fourth, kind of season with the trees as we came in late summer the first year. And this tree's the healthiest it's been.
Yeah, we have a lot of really good-looking pears on it.
It looks like we're going to actually get pears. There's still blight, but 80 to 90% of it's gone. Right. And that is really exciting.
Kind of the wisdom out there for the organic movement is that you just have to spray these things with copper if they're in this circumstance, like every single year. And we wanted to move away from this chemical dependency, even on things that are considered organic chemicals, right? Mm-hmm, yeah. And so this is really exciting to see that just by really increasing that soil health, really focusing on that, the tree is actually repairing. So this is kind of fun.
Yeah, it's doing well. Yeah. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, hey, we've got a great episode today. Going to answer a few of your questions, and we're going to be talking about feeding teenagers, specifically teenage boys, on the homestead. That can be a real challenge. They have empty legs sometimes, and the food just goes, I don't know where.
I don't either.
Yeah, and so we're gonna talk about that and just getting people fed on the homestead, high energy youth, and even ourselves. It's a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of food to feed this family.
Yes.
Yeah, and probably yours. All right, but first, let's get into a little chit chat and catch up. Hey, what's going on with you this last week? It's nice we're catching up weekly now.
Yes, it is. That's really exciting to be back here weekly and being able to interact a little bit more. So that's a lot of fun. Let's see, what have I been doing? Well, it is definitely officially harvest season around here.
It's coming in, yep.
We are getting cucumbers in, lots of cucumbers. I'm really excited because we have a lot of cucumber plants and they are producing really well, which means I'm not necessarily having to maximize the cucumber use. So I can pickle the little ones. Those are my favorite pickles in the whole world, is like the little teeny one. Not when
you say little, do you mean like that's tiny?
Oh, like, teeny. I like them like, just really, really little. I still make them into a dill pickle. So I don't do, what is the French pickle that they make from the really little ones? It's kind of a sweet pickle. I don't do that. I still do my dill pickle, but they just stay so crisp, and they're just such a perfect little mouthful. So I'm excited because a lot of years I've been like, well, I really need to get more pickles out of every cucumber than just, one little bite. And we have enough this year that I can do sliced ones and spears and lots of little babies. So
yeah, cool.
That's exciting. Raspberries are in, so we're picking the raspberries every third day. I love the freeze dryer for the berries.
Oh, they are so good.
I am absolutely in love with it. I do not think I will be freezing any berries this year in the freezer.
Yeah,
there's really no reason, because I can put them in the freeze dryer. It's really like 2 buttons push and then it's done, that part's exciting on a busy time of year. But then the flavor when they come out of the freeze dryer is phenomenal. It is, I can't even describe how much better it is than anything else that I've had. It's hard not to sit there and just eat them just like that. So
it's also easier to put them up because you're not having to you know, if we freeze them in bulk, then obviously they just kind of freeze all together, and it's
Right.
very hard to get out and use what you want.
Yeah.
And, you know, otherwise you got to lay them in the freezer in trays. That's hard to do. It takes up space,
Yeah.
and it's a lot more work. This is going really, really well.
Is it?
Now, she is still canning some wonderful raspberry jam.
Raspberry jam.
But you only need so much jams. Even in our household with, you know, 12, 13 people, you only need so much jam.
Right.
And so these freeze-dried raspberries, I'm excited about them.
Yeah.
You can just sprinkle them into breakfast. You can grab them for snacks, ice cream. There's just so many uses for it. And it's not just the raspberries. That's just kind of what's coming in flush right now. Hey, and I am meaning to tell you, sorry, I'm going a different direction, talking about fruit and preserving. You got to check out the gooseberries. There's a lot of gooseberries on there, and those need to get in. They're going to go fast.
So then this week I will be harvesting gooseberries and doing something with them. I have not quite figured out, honestly, what to do with gooseberries. We've never had them before, and we just have 3 little plants here that actually produce a lot.
They're loaded this year.
We just kind of tend to eat them fresh. I know there's the old-fashioned gooseberry fool, is an old-fashioned breakfast, or I'm sorry, dessert that people make out of it. Any other idea? If you guys have great gooseberry ideas, put them in the comments for me, because I am not entirely sure what to do with these things yet, and I'm going to have to sit and do a little research on it. So
we better. We got more, because we've got more coming down
planting
here
them elsewhere.
in the food forest. Yeah.
Good. So then, besides keeping up with the harvest, I'm still working on the dairy class.
Yay.
I've been filming the troubleshooting section. There's a whole module on troubleshooting, so that when something doesn't go right with your dairy making, you can get an answer, which I know is the part sometimes. That's what we need more than anything else, is just like, what went wrong and how do I fix it and how do I keep it from going wrong next time? And that actually is where I feel like a lot of the real learning happens, is problem solving. So anyways, getting that all filmed and put into place. We're getting closer to the September 1st launch here. See my shirt?
If you guys aren't on the list, this is only going to be available when it's initially launched through a special email wait list.
Yes.
And we'll keep reminding you, but you really, really want to get on that wait list if you're at all interested. Even if you're not sure, just get on there. There's some free goodies, some bonuses. And it's going to be a one-time price only release that we do whenever we do a new class. And hey, there's people have been asking some questions. Maybe you can answer, like Live Free American Girl and Rewired for Joy. These are some common questions we're seeing about, you know, who's the audience? Who is this class for? Do they need to own a cow? Do they even have to have access to raw milk? Or can anyone participate in this?
Yeah, great. You do not need to have a cow or access to raw milk in order to participate in this class. In fact, I'm going to show you how to go to your grocery store. I actually just filmed a video this week where I took all the kids and we went to the grocery store and looked at the different kinds of milk. You took
all 10 kids to the grocery store?
Well, our oldest son now has a full-time job, so he did not join in the fun. I have never filmed out in public like that before, and especially with all those kids. But I got to tell you, nobody was looking at me with the camera. They were watching the kids who were trailing through the grocery store. So it was a good distraction, so I didn't feel quite so in focus. But, you know, when we went and we looked at the different milks that are in the grocery store and how to pick out milks for the different types of dairy you might want to make at home. So you do not need to have access to raw milk. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. If you have raw milk that's non-homogenized, straight from the cow or goat, yes, I'm getting that question a lot, like Rewired for Joy. Is all of it is applicable to goat and sheep milk. Camel too, if you have camel milk or water buffalo, like absolutely, you can use those.
Everybody wants a water buffalo.
Oh dear.
All of life boils down to Veggie Tales in our house.
Tales, please. You can use all of those milks, but the raw, unhomogenized milk is going to give you the best, most delicious, most flavorful results. But you can use store-bought pasteurized milk, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to do that in the class. Actually, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it when you're on the wait list, because I give the free bonuses and goodies and trainings in the wait list, so jump over there. Okay. All right, what about you? What are you up to?
Wow, okay, well, working on these trees, trimming trees when I can in the mornings when it's early and cool.
Yep.
And this is a great time, like I was saying last week, I think, to trim the trees if you don't want to spur growth, but you just want to shape the trees a little bit. And so getting some of that done. Let's see. Oh, moved the pigs. We've had the pigs in the big compost pile. We just moved them over. We're creating an area in the barn. We're slowly developing our barn into something I'm calling a permaculture barn.
Fun.
That's stacking functions and uses, and I'll talk about more of that in the future, but that's exciting.
Yeah.
And we're starting to get an area set up for the pigs there, but so that we can start turning these 30 cubic yards of compost that we have, and I'm trying to get that thermal composting up to 150 degrees or better.
Okay.
We had a few weed seeds in it last year, and so trying to get it really going and ready for the fall. What else? Oh, getting ready for sheep. We've got,
yes,
I think we talked about that. The Cotswolds are coming this Friday.
Yay.
Going to pick them up, a ram and 3 ewes.
Yes.
So we're really excited about that.
We'll try and grab some photos and talk about that next week in the pantry chat.
Yeah.
Show you some of the new sheep.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
So getting ready for those guys and just trying to keep up with the heat. It's hot and dry.
Yeah.
And we've got a pretty good watering system, but it's still a bit to manage on our scale. It's not automated. And, you know, trying to keep everything watered and happy because it is really hot. Yeah. So that's about it.
That's kind of it.
That's about it. Yeah.
Oh, hey, I wanted to tell you guys that for some of you guys who've been following us for a while, you might remember back when our youngest was born, I did a video or two with a young lady named Emma, who has been, she has been friends of our family for a lot of years. She came up and helped around the house, helped me when Rebecca was born. And we have her up here for a little trip this week. It's really exciting to see her. And I'm kind of excited because she is making a new product, which is really, really exciting. And she's kind of get going in business.
Yeah.
It is a non-toxic Play-Doh that is colored with only food colorings and scented with
natural
essential
food
oils.
colorants, not
I'm sorry,
organic.
Like
I think, I don't know if it's
natural,
organic, but natural.
It's like from food.
Yeah.
It's food colorings.
Right,
It's
not your red dye 40 or whatever it is.
No, it's like beet powder.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. And then anyways, we're
totally
really
safe.
excited about it. So we're kind of nudging her along to see if we can maybe get some to offer you guys.
I think we're gonna. So we'll be releasing that in email.
Yes.
That will be letting you guys know about that in email, and I think you guys with kids are going to love this.
Yeah. Tell us in the comments, like, would you be super excited to get your hands on something like that? Our kids have not stopped playing with it.
Oh, they
since
love it. And neat colors, just vibrant, bright colors. Yeah, it's a really exciting natural product.
And now I keep grabbing the dark green because it has the relax essential oils in it, and I'm like, I think I'm going to put this by my desk for when I get stressed. I'm just going to play with the Play-Doh. Adult Play-Doh. That's my...
Very cool.
Yeah. Anyways.
Hey, there was one other thing I was wanting to share before we get into a couple of questions. And I know we're going a little long this morning, but one of the things that I'm into is I've just been talking to Haas Tools, and they just sent me a hat. Ooh. We're going to be sharing some of their stuff with you. I'm really excited about some of the tools and things that they have. They're really geared toward kind of the homesteader.
Oh, that's nice.
And growing your own food and gardening. And really, really like them. So I wanted to just mention them, and we'll put a link in there if you guys have not checked out Haas Tools. And hey, if you haven't noticed, I like hats. I love ball caps, right? And I've often got a different one. And I wanted to share with you guys, if you've got a hat that you think is cool, that you would like everybody to see, I love putting something on for a product, not just anything, but something that I like to get behind, like Haas Tools here, I like to wear. Do you have something? Do you have a product? Do you have something that you'd like to get on Homesteading Family? Email us, and we'll send you a place to send that. And if it's something that I can get behind,
send us a hat.
I'll wear
send
about
us
it, and I'll talk about it here on Pantry Chat.
Preferably clean ones. That would be really nice.
Yeah, new would be nice. Please, no old sweaty ones.
I'll wear a hat
I do that to them fine. I wear them out fast. I go through them quick because they get dirty and sweaty. And then I never throw them away, though. Carolyn makes fun of me because I've got hats piled up everywhere.
It's like a collection, you know. Some people collect cast iron, like me, and some people collect old hats.
And trailers.
Yeah, I'd wear one too. I just am picky about it being a lady style and not... I don't want a trucker's hat.
This is a nice one. This is our local, volunteer fire department. Yep.
Yeah. So anyways, okay.
Cool. All right.
We must be chatty. I think we've had too much coffee today.
Yep. Coffee is good. And we're enjoying hanging with a chit chat today. We'll move along a little bit. We're going to do 2 questions today. One's a gardening question from Gardening Alex from IG. Just out of interest, why do you need to fork? He means, or she means to broad fork once a year to loosen the soil. Does it get compacted during the year? And yes, it does. And somebody else was asking this about the no-till system. And if you're not tilling, your soil still over time settles. Watering settles it. Hopefully you're not walking on it, but it just settles and compacts over time. Now, in a no-till system, you don't have to loosen the soil every year, but it is beneficial to do it periodically, and it is most beneficial if you can do it every year, because you need air and water in your soil, along with all the organic matter and all the biology. That air and water feeds everything. And so by loosening, that's just going to stimulate growth. And a broad fork is a great way to do that without turning over the soil. It just gets down there and loosens and opens things up so that you get oxygen into the soil and you make a place to store water. Alrighty, okay, and on to kind of a preservation cooking question. Deb R. about preserving onions wants to know, I love caramelized onions and mushrooms. Could I throw mushrooms in as well and dehydrate the mix?
Oh, yeah. This is back on that video that I did a couple years ago now on caramelizing the onions in with a balsamic vinegar in it and then dehydrating it. Oh, it's so amazing. And mushrooms would absolutely go in that mix.
Sounds
you can
wonderful.
Completely do that. This is dehydrating and not canning, so you can adjust your recipe and tweak it. It would still dehydrate well. It would also freeze dry amazingly well. For those of you guys who, I know there's quite a few of you who have commented that you're experimenting with freeze dryer, that you've gotten a freeze dryer or you're looking at getting one. This would freeze dry really well too. So absolutely, cool. That sounds like a good mix.
All right, well, talking about food.
Yes.
And we've had some questions specifically and thought this was a great topic. And the question was specifically regarded around feeding teenage boys.
Yes.
And a growing family. And I tell you, we can relate. Having 10 kids, our food bill, if we bought all of our food and ate a decent quality, would be 1.5 to 2 times the mortgage.
Oh, absolutely.
It is expensive today to feed good quality food. Yeah. And so it's a big challenge for anybody that's raising kids.
It is.
And feeding kids, and especially teenage boys. They are voracious.
2-year-olds and then teenage boys. 2-year-olds go through this phase where they're eating more than an adult for a while, somewhere in there. 2 to 3.
Yeah.
And then they kind of grow out of that and they slow back down. But then they hit like this 13, 14-year-old boy phase, and I think they could out-eat like 3 grown men.
Oh,
it is
4
phenomenal.
platefuls at a sitting, 10 tacos when everybody else is eating 2 or 3.
Right. And the thing is
going out to eat
off.
Is like this.
Just
don't do it hardly.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is that they're really burning it off because they're out working. They have the energy on the other side, which I think is a key to handling feeding. One of the keys.
Directing. Right.
Yeah. So good.
So, obviously we're growing our own food. We want to encourage you to grow your own food. And that's one of the key factors. And one of the things early on, besides health, that got us going was just realizing that we wanted to eat healthy and we wanted to feed our kids well. And that was going to be very expensive.
Yeah.
And so we set out to raise as much of our own food as we can. We're still having to increase the families. People are still getting older. And so just starting with figuring out how to grow your own food, even if you're in a small space or small yard, starting to look at your spaces. What can you use? What can you turn into a food plot? And then using that energy, put those boys and girls, but we're focused on boys a little bit here, to put them to work. Get them helping.
Yeah. Absolutely. Have them raise some of their own food. I think that's a really big key to it. I wanted to just tell you guys for a minute what we had for dinner in our house last night, because we have 2 teenage boys right now and a teenage girl and an almost teenage girl, and then everybody else is below that. And then, of course, Josh and I as adults, and we had Emma staying with us, so another adult
13
eating
people
with us, 13 people last night. And I cooked 3 of our chickens that we raise here. So those are nice, probably 5-pound chickens that we roasted in the giant Dutch oven that we have. We did probably 5 cups of a brown rice, and then a big basket of Swiss chard from the garden for dinner. And we could have easily doubled the Swiss chard. We ate all of the chicken and all of the rice. So just that is a lot of food to have to get on the table 3 meals a day.
But yet that was a simple meal, and that's a lot of times you're doing, and you can probably talk about this in a minute, more, casserole style, bulk cooking styles, but that was a simple meal that's really, really good. That was really easy to prepare. Whole chickens, and if you don't raise them and you're buying them, buy the whole chicken. It's easy to want to buy the breasts and parts, but you're going to get a better price on that whole chicken.
Right.
And yes, it's a little more work. You're going to probably, cut it up or pull it all apart, but that's going to save you a little bit of money, and you can cook a lot more. Besides that, you can then use some of the other products to make that value go even further.
Right.
But what a good meal. And then rice, very simple to cook, and then
right in the chicken broth. So it was very easy, but very, very nutritious and very good.
Yeah, and then the greens mixed right, cooked right alongside that. Very simple, but very, very tasty meal.
Yeah. So one of the great tips that I have for feeding people is just this idea of making your cooking count. It does not have to be fancy cooking around the meal table every day. It just needs to be good, healthy, solid, what do you call that? Country farm food, right?
Sure.
Roast chicken, rice, and greens. We see that on our table at least once a week. Another favorite of mine is garden stir fry. And that is where, a lot of times you have little odds and ends from the garden, but you don't quite have enough to have a complete side dish of broccoli, but you have the little shoots coming off the broccoli
Especially this time
plant.
when it gets hot, if you've got broccoli, it stops heading, and you have little stuff or leftover peas that are coming in as it's hot.
The peas are straggling along. The green beans are just starting. You've got onions. I just walk through the garden with big baskets, and I just grab everything that can be thrown into a stir fry. And that is another favorite meal around our house.
That's a great way to grocery shop.
It really is. It's
like
a lot of fun, too.
Yeah.
We try to do it early in the morning so everything's crisp and sweet still. Even if we're not going to have the meal until evening before the heat wilts everything. But it's a really good way to go.
One of the better times to harvest. Yeah.
But, even before I had a garden, I really did the same thing. Well, I'm trying to think of when before I had a garden was, but even in the times where we're off season of the garden,
we did farmers markets.
Same thing with the odds and ends from the refrigerator in the pantry. I just go through, and sometimes it turns itself into a soup. You see, my cooking morphs as I'm cooking. Oh, look, one of the odds and ends I have is a little broth. So I guess this is going to be a soup tonight instead of a stir fry. But it kind of just figure out how to use up the little bits that we have to create a whole meal. Yeah. Sometimes that means that you're going to be creating meals that don't appear in any recipe book. And occasionally you're going to have combinations that people are like, yeah, we could live without this one again. But for the most part, a little bit of protein of some sort, a bunch of vegetables in there, some seasoning, whether it's herbs or a little, sauce from the refrigerator or something like that. And then you put that over whatever starch you have on hand, actually becomes a really great, easy meal to serve. And you can feed a lot of people that way.
Yeah, you really can. I'm thinking too about those casseroles. You do a lot, particularly for breakfasts, which is, one of the big meals of the day.
Yeah.
But you do a lot of casseroles a lot of times, a lot of mixing stuff up.
Yeah, I don't really do dinner casseroles at all. I almost never do those.
No,
But
you'll do
breakfast
spaghettis.
casseroles.
You'll do, even the stir fry, it's not a casserole, but you're mixing a lot of ingredients into, as opposed to the chicken rice and, the individuals. That's kind of our common American dish.
Got it.
And,
okay.
But you'll do a lot of stuff. So I agree that, you know, like the stir fry isn't a casserole, but it's a similar theme. You're getting a lot into one thing that you can cook together.
Yeah.
To cook a lot for a large group and hungry people, but not as complicated or as much work, and it creates a lot of efficiencies. And so, like for the breakfasts, you do a lot of casseroles.
Yes, we do.
And you know, get that tank filled up for the day really, really well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Those of you guys who have followed us for a while know that I am not a morning person. I don't usually even eat until about 10:30, 11. I'm kind of happy with my coffee with a little collagen powder put in it for a little protein first thing in the morning. But so if the household is depending on me to feed them in the morning, we're in trouble. So my answer to that has been to do make-ahead casseroles. And this is really good for those hungry people because I'll tell you what, those boys wake up ravenous. The first thing they are is hungry. And my stomach's not even awake and they want to know what's for breakfast. And so,
absolutely.
So having those meals ready to just pop into the oven and then come out, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes later and land on the table is a really great way to go for feeding people. And that actually leads me right into one of my next things is that when you have young people that are growing quickly and expending a lot of energy, carbs are your friends. I know as adults, maybe we don't want too many carbs. We're careful about our carb intake, but people who are expending that kind of energy, that is where those carbs really shine. They kind of sustain that energy over time. They also fill you up. So don't be afraid of putting a little extra rice on the plate for those hungry people because that actually is going to fill them up. Same thing with some of those breakfast casseroles. You know, if they're just protein based, you really end up burning through that really fast. And so you want to make sure you have some of those carbs to slow that digestion down a little bit and really, you know, and we want good carbs, obviously. You want the brown rice, you want the whole grain breads and things like that, because you still want to be healthy. We're not trying to stop anybody's digestion with white flour, but use those as your friend for those younger people. And, you know, they've just gotten such a bad rap, the net carbs in our culture now. And I think it's because a lot of us are very sedentary. And, you know, adults, we're just not growing. We don't need it the same way.
And carbs they're easy to produce, mass produce. And so they're cheap. Yeah. And so they have been overused. Yeah. And I think you bring out a very good point. They have their proper place depending on where you are in life and your activity level.
Yeah.
And so for those young people, they can take a lot of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can use a lot of those.
Absolutely.
It's good for them.
So another thought that I had on all of this is, I don't want to say locking your cabinets, but reducing access to free snacking. This is going to seem a little counterintuitive, but what I have found ends up happening is that if those boys are hungry and they start grabbing things in the pantry, they end up kind of snacking, and then a meal happens and they don't tank up on that good quality meal with all that really good food. And so they end up then being hungry. Overly hungry the next meal or, you know, an hour later, and then they're back to snacking. And that really tips the balance between the healthy, balanced meals that they're eating versus just starting to get in this habit of snack all the time. And that tends to be less healthy food. So, you know, really kind of restricting the in-between meals, even for those I'm super hungry people, to say, yeah, well, dinner will be ready in an hour. Like, it's good to be hungry. That's one of my favorite saying. Well, it's good to be hungry before you eat a meal. Well, and besides Luke saying hi here, he came over to say hi to us. Can you say hi to the camera? No. No. He just wants a hug. That kind of leads to another topic, and that is training your kids to eat what you provide. Yes. And we've got a lot of picky people today, and it's natural for kids to get picky and learn what they want to eat, what they don't want to eat. We all have our things, and we have so many choices today. And we've got to try to avoid letting people get too picky.
And part of that's just training and saying, hey, this is what we've got to eat. This is what works. This is what we can afford. This is what we can produce. This is what we have the time to do. And they've got to learn to get in the flow with that. One of the things that helps with that, besides reminders, is allowing them to be hungry a little bit and not over snack and go and browse and just get whatever they want and get the sugary items or the things in between. Get them good full meals, but then, allowing them to be hungry by the next meal. We found that they're a little more likely to just dive in and not be quite, that hunger starts to override. So, that's not like trying to say, hey, make your kids hungry and really put them off. But there's a healthy perspective in there and a healthy way to address that in, preventing the snacking and, letting them use their energy and come to the table hungry and not so worried about like, what are we going to have? But like, I'm hungry. I want to eat. Yeah. I've been out working. I've been out playing ball, whatever it is. And they're ready to sit down and eat. And that helps a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think nobody's going to starve between lunch and dinner. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's hard for some of us moms, especially because they come and I'm hungry. I'm so hungry. And, us moms want to feed everybody all the time. But it is really good to get in good, healthy eating patterns of making sure that you're sitting down and eating a good meal when it's mealtime and not doing the snacking.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think even keep the snacking in context. It's not to say there's never snacking.
Right.
But again, kind of like picking snacking is one of those things that today can get really carried away and people are just snacking all the time.
Right.
And then that squashes that hunger.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. Got any other thoughts there?
Those were my top thoughts. One kind of flitted past, and I was trying to grab it again, but I'm not sure that I'm going to get it. So
yeah. Well, just really remember a lot of these things in feeding hungry people. There's cost associated, obviously. So the more you can try to produce your own, and if you can't produce your own, bulk buying. We talk about this a lot in pantry chats in different areas of the homesteading lifestyle. None of us can provide everything.
Right.
So we've got to buy. Try to buy in bulk. Try to look for deals. If you're preserving more and you can't grow it all, try to find seconds at the farmer's market or even from the grocery store and look for those places to save money and put stuff up in bulk and then cook in those larger batches. All of that tends towards saving money when when somebody's really hungry, you got to feed them a lot and making that easy to do.
I remembered it.
Right.
That is plan inconvenience meals for yourself because when you're cooking that much food for somebody who is constantly hungry, you need to be able to take a break sometimes and be like, oh, I am not cooking tonight. But that doesn't mean that you're going to go get the junk food from the store. So make sure you plan in some easy meals, whether that's freezer cooking. I love canning full meals so that you can just dump something and heat it. Use your freeze dryer, dehydrate. There are a lot of really great options there, but just make sure that you think about how do you get some meals on the shelf so that you can take a break when you get tired of feeding these hungry people and you just need some time off.
That's right. Mama needs a break once in a while.
Mama needs a break occasionally.
Yeah.
So. Great.
Well, hey, you guys, it's been fun hanging with you today. We hope that was helpful.
I wanted to mention.
We forgot something.
Last week in the pantry chat, we asked you guys about the length of the pantry chat that you prefer. Thank you. Preferred. Thank you very much.
Yeah, what works for you guys?
And we got answers all the way from about 20 minutes to about an hour. So I think the feedback from that is that we're on the right track to be somewhere between like 25 minutes and 40 minutes in there, which is kind of where we're aiming for anyways. So thank you guys for your feedback. We appreciate that.
Yeah, and we're going to roll with this kind of organically, I think.
Yeah.
And not, just go with it as it flows. And so some of them may be 20 minutes, some of them may be 45. We'll
Sure.
see. Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, we will see you soon.
Goodbye.
Bye.